There is a kind of pain that hides in silence. It doesn't scream. It doesn't announce itself. It lives in the pauses between conversations, in the smile you force at a dinner table, in the way you say, "I'm fine," even when your chest feels like it is breaking open. So many women carry this hidden ache. You might carry it too. A wound that is invisible to the world, but relentless inside you. The kind of sorrow that makes you cry in the shower so no one can hear, that makes your pillow heavy at night, that makes your mornings feel like a battle before you've even left your bed. It's the pain of holding everything together for everyone else while secretly falling apart. The pain of being strong when you're tired of being strong. The pain of knowing that your heart has been bleeding quietly, and yet you still keep it locked away, as if silence itself could protect you. But silence is heavy, and when we bury our pain, it doesn't disappear. It seeps into us, into the way we breathe, into the way we love, into the way we see ourselves. It makes life feel grey, muted, like living in a storm that never ends. I want you to imagine a storm for a moment. The sky is dark, clouds pressing heavy over the earth, rain pouring without mercy. That storm is the pain you hide. It rages quietly inside, and though you try to ignore it, it shapes everything around you. But every storm, no matter how fierce, eventually gives way. The clouds part, the sun returns, and when the light comes back, the world glistens, fresh, alive, cleansed. That same transformation is possible for your heart. You do not have to keep carrying this hidden sorrow. You do not have to keep pretending. You do not have to be at war with yourself in silence. Because the truth is this: healing begins the moment you stop hiding. Healing begins the moment you give yourself permission to feel, to release, to breathe again. I know it feels scary. I know you've been told to stay strong, to move on, to not dwell on the past. I know how much pressure there is to smile, to keep going, to never let anyone see the cracks. But pretending only deepens the wound. What you suppress doesn't vanish. It waits. And in the waiting, it slowly drains your spirit. But there is another way, a softer way, a way where your tears are not weakness, but medicine, where your vulnerability is not shame, but courage, where your truth is not a burden, but a doorway to peace. And that is why you are here, because part of you is ready. Part of you is tired of crying inside. Part of you longs for peace. So let me guide you. Let me walk with you through this storm, into the light that waits on the other side. Because no matter how long you have carried your pain in silence, it is never too late to lay it down and begin again. This is your invitation to breathe, to release, to heal. For many women, pain becomes an invisible companion. You wake up, put on your clothes, put on your smile, and the world sees only the version of you that keeps moving. The version that gets the kids ready for school, that shows up at work, that holds the house together, that listens to everyone else's problems and offers advice. Even when your own heart feels like it is crumbling, you know how to play the part. You know how to nod, how to say, "I'm okay," when someone asks, how to laugh at the right time so nobody suspects. But deep inside, you feel the hollowness, the secret ache. It is the exhaustion of carrying too much alone. It is the loneliness of lying next to someone who doesn't really see you. It is the quiet sadness of wondering if anyone truly knows your heart. And still you keep hiding, because hiding feels safer than explaining. Because you don't want to be judged. Because you've convinced yourself that your pain is too much, or that no one would really understand. But when you hide for too long, something happens. You begin to lose touch with yourself. You look in the mirror, and you barely recognize the woman staring back. Her eyes are tired, not just from lack of sleep, but from holding back tears. Her smile looks practiced, not spontaneous. Her soul feels muted, as if someone turned down the brightness of her spirit. And you begin to question, is this all life will ever be? The truth is, hiding your pain doesn't protect you. It isolates you. It builds invisible walls around your heart, walls that keep love, joy, and connection from entering. Think about it. When you bury your emotions, you also bury your laughter. When you silence your tears, you silence your voice. And when you numb your pain, you numb your ability to feel joy too. It's like living with a mask, beautiful on the outside, but suffocating on the inside. I know this feeling because I lived it too. For years after my divorce, I perfected the mask of strength. I became the woman who had it all together. I smiled at friends. I worked harder. I traveled. I filled my calendar so no one would notice the emptiness inside me. But the truth was, I felt hollow. I was exhausted from pretending. And the more I suppressed my grief, the more it consumed me. Maybe you know this too. Maybe you've smiled through heartbreak. Maybe you've swallowed your words in arguments just to keep the peace. Maybe you've given so much to others that there's nothing left for yourself. This is the heavy cost of hiding. Numbness. You stop feeling deeply because it hurts too much, but in doing so, you also stop experiencing real joy. Disconnection. You feel distant from the people you love because you're not showing your true self. Self-doubt. You start to believe that maybe your feelings aren't valid, that maybe your pain isn't worth sharing. Loneliness. Even in a crowded room, you feel unseen because the real you is hidden behind the mask. And yet this is not who you were meant to be. You were born to feel deeply. You were born to live fully. You were born to love and be loved, not just for your strength, but also for your softness. Not just for your smile, but also for your tears. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly seen? When was the last time someone looked into your eyes and you didn't have to pretend? When was the last time you allowed yourself to collapse into someone's arms and simply say, "I'm not okay right now"? So many of us go years, even decades, without that kind of honesty. And it's not because we don't long for it, it's because we don't believe it's safe. But here, in this space, I want you to know it is safe. Safe to admit you're tired. Safe to admit you're hurting. Safe to admit that you are ready for change. That's why I created this channel. Not just to share my own journey, but to build a sisterhood of healing. A place where women like you don't have to hide anymore. If these words touch your heart, I invite you to join us. Subscribe, like, and follow. Not just for more videos, but because when you do, you're saying yes to a community that sees you, that honors your truth, that reminds you that you're not alone. Because you are not alone. Every day, thousands of women carry the same hidden weight. And every day, more of us are deciding to lay it down, to stop pretending, to start breathing again. The pain you hide is not weakness. It is simply a signal. A message from your soul saying, please, it's time to be free. And freedom begins intuition the moment you stop hiding. I want to take you back to a season of my own life. A time when the mask of strength had become so heavy that I could barely hold it anymore. I was 30 years old, freshly divorced, standing in the middle of my empty apartment surrounded by boxes I couldn't bear to unpack. On the outside, people thought I was moving on. On the inside, I felt shattered. Nights were the worst, lying awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling the silence press against me like a weight. I cried quietly into my pillow so that no one would know. But what hurt the most wasn't the loss of a marriage, it was the loss of myself. I had poured so much of who I was into being someone's partner, into being what the world expected me to be, that when it all ended, I didn't know who I was anymore. I wasn't just grieving a relationship, I was grieving me. And so, I hid. I smiled at colleagues. I posted pictures that looked happy. I told my friends, I'm doing fine. But the truth was, I was drowning in my own silence. Until one night, everything broke. I was sitting on the bathroom floor, knees pulled to my chest, sobbing so hard I could barely breathe. My reflection in the mirror was unrecognizable. Swollen eyes, trembling body, a face I didn't want to see. I remember whispering out loud, I can't live like this anymore. And something in me shifted. It wasn't an instant healing, it wasn't a magical fix. It was a tiny, fragile spark, a willingness to stop pretending, a willingness to finally face the pain I had been burying. That moment became the doorway to everything that followed. Within months, I packed a suitcase and bought a one-way ticket to India. Friends thought I was reckless, my family worried. But I knew if I didn't step away from the life I had been performing, I would never find the life I was meant to live. In India, I found myself waking up at dawn to the sound of temple bells. I sat on the cold stone floors of ashrams, learning to breathe again. I studied yoga, not as a fitness practice, but as a way of returning home to my body. I listened to teachers speak of ancient wisdom, that the heart holds memory, that the body holds emotion, that the soul can only be free when we honor both joy and sorrow. And for the first time in years, I allowed myself to cry openly, not in secret, not muffled in the dark, but with the sunrise pouring through the window, with the earth beneath me holding me steady. And in those tears, I discovered something I had forgotten. Tears don't be against us. They cleanse us. They wash away the dust of all the ways we've pretended. From there, my journey continued to Mexico, where I learned the shamanic ways of sitting in silence with the fire, listening to the wisdom of the ancestors. To Sedona, where the red rocks reminded me of my childhood, grounding me in the beauty of nature. To classrooms where science confirmed what spirituality had always known, that the mind, the body, and the heart are inseparably woven, and that healing must embrace all three. Piece by piece, I began to rebuild, not by forcing myself to be strong, but by allowing myself to be soft, not by ignoring my pain, but by listening to it, not by hiding my wounds, but by honoring them as teachers. And slowly, the hollow space inside me began to fill with peace, with clarity, with love, not from someone else, but from myself. I tell you this not because my story is extraordinary, but because it is ordinary. It is the story of so many women who have loved and lost, who have broken and rebuilt, who have carried pain in silence until they finally choose to set it down. And maybe you are standing at that same doorway right now. Maybe you feel the same exhaustion I felt on that bathroom floor. Maybe you've whispered those same words. I can't live like this anymore. If so, let my story be a mirror for yours. Because the truth is, you don't need to fly across the world to begin. You don't need to sit in ashrams or study ancient texts. What you need is already within you. the courage to stop hiding, the willingness to face your truth, the decision to choose healing over silence. That is the turning point, not a destination, not a perfect moment, but a choice. And the moment you choose to stop hiding, the moment you decide to allow your heart to be seen, everything begins to change. It is not an easy path. Healing rarely is. It is raw. It is vulnerable. It asks you to feel what you've been avoiding. But in that feeling, you find freedom, because pain is not the enemy. Hiding is. When you stop hiding, you stop fighting yourself. You open space for light to enter, for breath to deepen, for love to return. That was my turning point. And it can be yours too. When we arrive at this moment of truth, that quiet recognition that we can no longer live hidden in our own sorrow, the question becomes, what now? How do we take the storm inside and begin to calm it? How do we step out of the shadows we've lived in for so long and into the light of a new life? The answer is gentler than you think. Healing doesn't require perfection. It doesn't demand that you suddenly be fearless or unbreakable. Healing begins with small, sacred choices. The choice to pause, the choice to breathe, the choice to listen to your own heart again. This is why I created what I call heart alignment therapy. It's not just a method. It's a path back home to yourself. It weaves together practices from psychology, ancient traditions, and personal experience, because true healing embraces both science and spirit, both the mind and the soul. The first step is always the breath. Why? Because breath is life. It is the bridge between body and spirit, between the chaos of the mind and the calm of the heart. Most of us, when we are in pain, breathe shallow. Our chest tightens, our breath becomes quick and restless, and without even realizing it, we send constant signals of danger to our nervous system. We live as though under attack, even when no one is attacking. So the healing begins with relearning how to breathe. Place one hand on your heart, the other on your belly. Inhale slowly through your nose, letting your belly rise, letting your lungs expand fully. Hold it for just a moment, and then exhale gently, like a wave returning to the ocean. Do this 3 times, and you'll notice the storm inside softens, even if just a little. The body whispers, "You are safe." Breath is not magic, but it is medicine. And every time you breathe consciously, you take one step closer to peace. The next step is to let the hidden speak. So many of us keep our pain locked away in silence. We swallow our feelings. We smile instead of confessing. We hold it all inside. But the heart cannot heal from what it refuses to name. That is why I encourage you to write. Not for others, not to be perfect, simply for you. Take a journal and write the words you've been holding. Write the things you never said out loud. Write your fears, your grief, your disappointments. Let the ink carry what your lips could not. Science has shown that expressive writing lowers stress, calms the nervous system, and brings clarity to the mind. But beyond science, there is something sacred about seeing your own truth on paper. It's as if your soul finally says, "Thank you for listening." In my own journey, I kept journals filled with tears and prayers, and every word I released was one less weight I had to carry inside. We are not only mind and body, we are energy. We carry the imprints of experiences not only in memory, but in the very field that surrounds us. Think of a time you walked into a room and instantly felt heavy, even though no one had spoken. or when you hugged someone and felt their sadness pour into you. This is energy, unseen, but deeply felt. Pain, when unexpressed, lingers in our energy field like shadows. It makes us tired, restless, disconnected. But just as energy can carry heaviness, it can also be cleared. Through practices like Reiki, meditation, or even simply placing your hands over your heart and visualizing light pouring in, you invite your energy back into balance. Imagine a golden light above your head, flowing down gently through your body, washing away the heaviness, illuminating every dark corner of your being. This is not fantasy, this is intention. And intention shapes reality. In a world that moves so fast, we forget the power of ritual. But healing loves rhythm, loves sacred pauses. Maybe your ritual is lighting a candle each evening and sitting in silence for 5 minutes. Maybe it's walking barefoot in the grass, letting the earth remind you that you are held. Maybe it's placing your journal and your crystals beside your bed as a sign that your inner world matters. Ritual tells your soul, you are important, your healing is sacred. And when repeated with love, even the simplest rituals open space for profound transformation. Finally, healing is not a solitary journey. We are wired for connection. We are meant to be mirrors for each other, to hold each other's truths with compassion. When you share your pain with a trusted friend, a therapist, or even a supportive community, something shifts. The walls you built around your heart begin to soften. You realize you were never as alone as you thought. That is why I always remind the women who listen here, this is not just a channel, it is a circle, a sisterhood of healing. Every time you leave a comment, every time you subscribe, every time you share your story, you are saying, I am here, I am healing, I am not alone. And when you do, you give another woman the courage to do the same. Healing is not linear. Some days you'll feel strong, others you'll feel fragile. But every step counts, every tear released, every breath reclaimed, every word written, every ritual honored. All of it is movement toward wholeness. The heart alignment therapy is not about fixing you because you are not broken. It is about aligning you with your truth, with your spirit, with the love. And when you walk this path, slowly, steadily, you begin to notice the shift. Your mornings feel lighter, your relationships feel more authentic, your heart begins to trust again, and peace, the peace you thought was lost forever, begins to return. You don't need to do it all at once. Begin with one breath, one page, one ritual, one moment of honesty with yourself. That is how healing begins, not in grand gestures, but in quiet choices that add up to freedom. And soon you'll discover that the pain you once hid no longer rules you. It becomes your teacher, your ally, the soil from which new life grows. Because when you stop hiding your pain, you give space for peace to bloom. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of the ocean at sunrise. The sky is painted with gold and rose, waves shimmer like liquid light, and the air feels fresh, alive, filled with possibility. That is what healing feels like. Not the absence of storms, but the discovery that you can breathe again beneath the open sky. When you begin to face your pain, when you allow it to be seen, when you stop hiding, you create space. And in that space, something extraordinary happens. Peace enters. The woman who once cried in silence becomes the woman who laughs without apology. The woman who once doubted her worth begins to walk with her head high, her shoulders back, her eyes glowing with a quiet confidence. The woman who once gave everything to others and forgot herself learns to honor her own heart first. And from that fullness, she loves more deeply than ever before. This is not a dream. This is what transformation looks like. Healing takes you from feeling hollow to feeling whole. You no longer wake up with the weight of dread pressing on your chest. Instead, you rise with a sense of calm, knowing that whatever the day holds, you are grounded, centered, aligned. Your inner world shifts. Where there was once anxiety, there is clarity. Where there was once shame, there is compassion. Where there was once silence, there is a voice that speaks with strength and softness at the same time. And this inner transformation ripples outward. When you stop hiding, your relationships change. The walls you built around your heart begin to fall, and suddenly connection becomes possible again. You start to attract relationships that are real, not based on performance or masks, but on truth and vulnerability. You find friendships where you can laugh until you cry, and cry until you laugh again. You discover love that sees you fully, not just for your strength, but for your tenderness too. And most of all, you discover connection with yourself. The loneliness you once carried dissolves because you no longer abandon yourself. You stand by your own side, steady, unwavering, your own best companion. Do you remember how it felt to silence your pain, to swallow your words, to keep everything inside? That silence once drained you. But now that silence has been replaced by power. Not the loud kind of power that demands attention, but the steady kind that radiates from within. You speak your truth with grace. You set boundaries with love. You honor your needs without guilt. And in doing so, you discover a freedom you never thought possible. Every wound you've carried becomes more than just a scar. It becomes a story, a source of wisdom, a path that can light the way for others. You realize that your pain was never wasted. It shaped you, taught you, softened you. And now, with your heart aligned, you can look back, not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because what once threatened to break you has become the soil where your strength grew. And when you live from that place, your life becomes an offering. You become the woman who inspires others, not by being perfect, but by being real. Not by never falling, but by showing that falling is not the end. It is the beginning. This is the vision I hold for you. A life where peace is not something you chase, but something that flows naturally from within. A life where love is not something you beg for, but something you radiate, attracting it effortlessly. A life where every morning feels like a chance to begin again, and every evening carries the quiet satisfaction of having lived true to yourself. You deserve this. You were made for this. And no matter how long you've carried your pain in silence, it is never too late to choose this transformation. Because the woman you are becoming is already within you. She has been waiting, patiently, beneath the weight of everything you've hidden. All she needs is your permission to rise. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want to return to where we began, to that silent ache, that quiet sorrow you've carried for so long. Maybe you recognized yourself in the storm I described. Maybe you felt seen in the words about loneliness, about the exhaustion of pretending. Maybe, for the first time, you allowed yourself to admit, yes, I'm tired of crying inside. If that's you, let me tell you something with all the love in my heart. This is not the end of your story. It is the beginning. Pain may have shaped your past, but it does not have to dictate your future. Silence may have protected you once, but it no longer serves you now. Strength may have been your armor, but your softness will be your freedom. The truth is, healing begins with permission, permission to feel, permission to release, permission to stop hiding, and to finally let your heart be seen. And I want you to know you are not alone in giving yourself that permission. Thousands of women are waking up to the same realization. Together, we are creating a movement of healing, a circle of women who are choosing honesty over hiding, peace over pretending, freedom over fear. This channel is not just a place for videos. It is a space of belonging. Every time you listen, every time you share, every time you subscribe, you're not just supporting me. You're stepping into a sisterhood that exists for you. A sisterhood that says, you matter. Your healing matters. Your voice matters. So if these words touched your heart, I invite you to take that step now. Click subscribe. Join this community of women who are reclaiming their lives, one breath, one tear, one moment of truth at a time. Like this video if it resonated with you, because your yes helps other women find it too. Share it with someone who may also be carrying her pain in silence. You never know whose life you might touch. Because when you step into healing, you don't just change your own life. You become a light for others. You show your daughters, your friends, your sisters, that vulnerability is not weakness. It is the doorway to love. You show the world that a woman who has faced her pain and chosen peace is unstoppable. And so I leave you with this. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not alone. You are a soul in the process of becoming whole again. You are a heart learning to beat freely. You are a woman discovering that peace is not a distant dream, but a birthright that was always yours. The storm you've been hiding is giving way. The clouds are parting. The light is returning. And with each breath you take, with each truth you allow, with each step you make toward honesty, you are stepping into that light. So, let this be the day you choose. Choose to stop hiding, choose to breathe, choose to heal, choose peace, because your heart deserves nothing less. And I promise you, the moment you choose, the universe will meet you with grace. So take a deep breath now. Place your hand on your heart. Whisper to yourself, I am ready. And know, truly know, that you are.